Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Gary Parker. I'm the Managing Director of Cnt Associates, which is one of the partners in the Bexley Business Support Program that is currently running. Thank you for joining us. There's a number of other people who've registered and may be joining us, but we're going to start now. In respect for those of you who joined on time. So we've got a number of speakers today. This is concentrating on funding. The first part of it is about funding in Bexley Borough. The rest of the presentation is about funding opportunities that are applicable anywhere else, though the majority of people today will be from Bexley Borough. I am going to introduce Martin Pinnell very, very shortly. And Martin is a senior manager in the London Borough of Bexley. He will introduce himself and talk about some Bexley-based opportunities. Then I will do a presentation on Bexley funding opportunities and wider funding opportunities that are local, regional, and indeed national. We've also got Rachel Barham from the Federation of Small Businesses. Thank you for joining us, Rachel. And we've got Roger Ambrose, who is a Bexley-based accountant who's going to answer any accounting questions you may have later if Roger's can join us. He had a few technical problems, so I'm hoping he can still join us. But that will come later. So we'll hand over to Martin now. Martin, it's over to you.
Hi there. Hello. This is Martin Pinnell from the London Borough of Bexley in the Economic Development team. It's good to join you this afternoon. Just wanted to apologise in advance. I will have to duck out of the meeting after I've made my short presentation, as I have a rather urgent deadline to meet today, unfortunately. So I've got to get back to that. But yes, I mean, today I'm just going to see if I can get my screen to share. Bear with me for a second. Okay, can everybody see the slides? You can verbally say if you will, please.
Yeah, we can see them, Martin.
Excellent. Okay. So first thing to say is that a lot of our Bexley Business Support program is funded through COVID-related funding, which came from central government. Things like the additional restrictions grant and the Welcome Back Fund have been used for a lot of the things that we've been doing over the last 2 years. Much of that was direct grants to businesses or events and promotions and sort of safety communications focused around our town centres. But we're now really at the tail end of that in terms of funding. Those schemes have really come to an end. So in terms of actual sort of hard cash, there really is only one project which I'll come on to that's still running at the moment. Everything else is really supporting kind. Not to say that it will not be valuable to businesses, but it's not sort of financial in nature. So as the list here on the first page suggests, a lot of it is about sort of help for businesses to do things like get online, grow and diversify, network, recruit staff, and so on. So it's about the business support side of things. And I'll run through very quickly what those are. There's a lot more detail online. I'll point you in the direction of where you can get more detail. The one of the areas that we're funding at the moment is actually working with Gary and Cnt Associates to fund some business support, one-to-one support for businesses, and one-to-many sort of through webinars and on specialist subjects. But there is actually a sort of 2 hours, up to 2 hours of free, as I say, funded support available, still places available on that. Do speak to Gary if you're interested, or and you're not already signed up to that. There's also the Federation of Small Business, FSB, membership offer that is still open. It's 12 months of free membership, and very valuable for small and micro businesses. We're aiming this at businesses that are up to 10 employees, and at the most 10 employees, and that they just need to show that they've had a negative impact from the COVID pandemic in the last two years, and those are the main criteria. There are other criteria that apply, but if you want to obviously find out a little bit more about what benefit FSB would have to your business, then obviously talk to Rachel, who's with us today. There's help to get your business online and sort of operating in the sort of digital world, if it's not already, in terms of websites, in terms of social media. There's an e-business support program that is being funded. Actually, it's not short-term funding. It's going over the next sort of 2.5 years. We're working with a company called Southeast Enterprise. They've got 2 advisors based in the borough at the Engine House, Bexley, but are able to sort of help businesses across the whole borough. So that's something definitely worth exploring if you want to get yourself online. We have still got our free recruitment service through Bexley Business and Employment. So if you're looking for staff to fill vacancies, don't forget that's a free service available to Bexley businesses. The financial support that I mentioned earlier is something called CARF, which I think stands for COVID Additional Relief Fund. And this is something that was fairly late in the day announced by the government, and given guidance to local authorities to how they can distribute this. It is it is only for business rate payers based in Bexley. It's about basically a discount off of the business rate bill for the last financial year, and not over rates bill, but if they have, then it would come in the form of a refund. So there is hard cash involved in there, but it is for specific sectors that have been impacted by COVID but haven't previously had any assistance either through relief or grants. So it's kind of a mopping up exercise for businesses that might have suffered through COVID but haven't yet had any help. A lot of that money is going to be awarded automatically through our business rates team, but there will be an application process at a later stage. So just watch out for this. If you're a ratepayer and you feel like you should be eligible for that, and we'll obviously put the eligibility criteria on the website. That's something potentially to apply for. Probably in the next month that'll be launched in terms of an application form. Sorry, moving on. There's a link up with the Engine House based in Belvedere, which has a fantastic co-working space there, which is quite recently been refurbished, and they've got a free 6-month co-working membership offer there. I think it's up to 20 odd places there available. This is also funded through the additional restrictions grant, so it's fully funded, but you do have to meet certain criteria. So all that, but there's also, if you go to the Engine House website, it'll tell you a lot more, and there's an application form for that benefit. The apprenticeship levy transfer is basically about some funding available to support small businesses to take on an apprenticeship, or sorry, apprentice, and support those apprentices in their training. So that could be very valuable support for any business looking to take on additional junior staff and get them trained up. Libraries Knowledge Hub was launched I think back in January, February, and this encompasses some really useful and quite powerful resources. Mintel is kind of the Rolls Royce of market research databases. We've got a number of different modules on that, on different subjects, including retail, including leisure sectors and so on. So very well worth a look. Compass is a database of manufacturers and suppliers worldwide. So if you were looking perhaps to get into import-export markets, for example, or you just need to source something, then that's a good place to go. And Cobra is a well-established, a really good resource for anyone starting a business, particularly, or in the early stages. So Knowledge Hub libraries, all free, really good resource there. And we've got some networking opportunities coming up. Net Zero Carbon event on the 12th of May. So not long now. That gives businesses opportunity to get free membership of something called a Climate Essentials, which actually basically helps businesses to sort of audit their business in terms of carbon and look at ways to reduce their impact on the planet. So it's definitely well worth coming along to that and finding out how you can help get our carbon footprint, or your business's carbon footprint down. And then followed by that, on the 22nd of June, we have a Disability Confident event, which is about helping to take staff on with disabilities, and again, another really worthwhile event. And obviously both of those are really good opportunity to network with other local businesses. I should flag up that all of this, I mean, I put the link on there for the Disability Confident event, because currently it's not. You can find on www.bexley.gov.uk/BBE. So all the details are on there, and also you can sign up to our weekly newsletter, which is well worth doing, because you get first knowledge really of any new support that's coming out, including grants if we do get any further grants. Not to just finish up, obviously I've mentioned a few partners that we're working with already amongst in the program, but we also do work with other organisations. So, for example, the BIDS in Bexley and Sidcup, they have their own programs to generally to sort of support their local businesses and run events and so on to encourage footfall. And then other town centres also have smaller groups like the Wellington Business Associates, for example, and the Exchange in Erith, getting very involved in the local community and the businesses. So if you're based in those areas, then it's definitely worth finding out more about those organisations. Covering the Thamesmead area, Peabody, very active in business support, as some of you will be aware, and it's definitely worth making contact with them if you're within that sort of area of the borough. And finally, we do work also, on a regular basis with South East Chamber of Commerce, who obviously have a lot of networking events going on and other services to business. So a bit of a whistle-stop tour. I hope that was helpful. I will I will send the slides to you, Gary, if that's okay, and if you want to circulate that to people that have attended and or those that have signed up anyway. Yeah, it just leaves me to say thank you for listening, and if you have any questions, I'm very happy to take them.
Yeah, but thank you for that, Martin. If people want to ask Martin any questions, please do. The sound dipped out once or twice when you were speaking there, Martin, for some reason. But
I'm sorry about that.
yeah, we caught them. I think maybe your headset, I think.
I wonder what you missed.
But it was just sort of sporadically. So the presentation is obviously on screen and people could still see that. So
that's it.
It should be okay. Patricia says thank you. That was great. So there's the there's the voice of the public.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah. If anybody's got any questions for Martin, obviously put them in the chat and we can get them to him because he's got to go shortly. But Martin, if you want to put your contact details in the chat, then maybe people can mail you.
Yes,
if you want to do that. Okay, I can't see anybody else asking any of the questions. I'm going to introduce the next speaker now, which is Rachel Barham from the Federation of Small Businesses, who needs no introduction from me. So she's not going to get one. She's more than capable of doing it herself. Over to you, Rachel.
Brilliant. Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Martin. I think most people have actually been on an event where I've presented anyway, but I'm going to recap what FSB does because I think every time I do it, I say it slightly differently. So I seem to catch little bits that people didn't necessarily know. But FSB is actually a not-for-profit organisation and it gives self-employed and small business owners a voice in government, which typically, as small businesses, we don't have. So we make sure when they're rolling out new decisions, they're thinking about grants, whatever, if it impacts on a small business, we are trying to influence to make sure it doesn't have a detrimental effect on small businesses. But on a day-to-day basis, for most of us, what government is doing is so far removed that we don't necessarily think about it. So FSB also gets involved from a member perspective with the local councils. So not that you would ever have an issue with Bexley Council because they are amazing, but if you did, FSB can support you with it. But at the same time, for those that maybe rent premises, we can also get involved with landlord issues. Now, these sorts of things don't mean that we always get the outcome that you want, because sometimes, and I know everybody on this event would never try to get something that maybe they weren't entitled to, but obviously we will, I suppose, be the voice of reason, but where we can, we are the support that you need. But because of the size of us, we have the buying power that small businesses don't have. So we could secure lots of different benefits for our members. And they are, I suppose, the foundations of business. So things like legals, insurances, banking, employment, health and safety support, all of this type of stuff, plus so much more. There's about 25 or 30 different benefits that you get with business, but they give you the support in areas that maybe you aren't so clued up on, because of course when we go into business we either go in because it's our passion or it's an industry that we've worked in. So of course when something comes up outside of that, we give you a one-stop shop to turn to. And I think the biggest benefit with that is not only do you not necessarily have to think about who to go to, you know you're not going to get ripped off, you know you're going to get the advice that you need, and it gives you that peace of mind that you can get on with your day-to-day business, and then when you do need support or you do need advice or something serious is happening, you know where to turn to. So some of the biggest benefits that apply to all businesses, we give you free business legal advice 24/7 and it's unlimited. So whether that's a contractual query, it might be that you've got a GDPR query, or if you recruit and have staff, it could be you've got a HR issue. So you can actually use FSB for anything business related. You give them a call and within an hour, the right type of solicitor will call you back. We've also got linked to that the legal hub, because every business needs some kind of legal document, although it does vary for each type of business. But you have access to about 1,300 templates and fact sheets that you can use within your business. We keep them up to date for you and they are free of charge. We also give you a number of free insurances, because as small businesses, especially in the current climate, we're trying to keep costs down. So we give you the ones that typically maybe are an afterthought. So we give you tax investigation protection. So just in case the HMRC decides to investigate you, we will do that for you so that you can concentrate on your business. It also means that you don't necessarily have to pay an accountant for that, so we can save you some money there. We also give you legal protection and employment protection. So both of those, the actual conditions to it are the same, but obviously meaning two totally different things. But we will support you. If somebody comes at you or your business, we will protect you up to £100,000 worth of legal cover per claim. So whether that is an employee wanting to take you to tribunal, or somebody's come into your business and wants to take you to court for whatever reason, we'll protect you up to 100k per claim. Brilliant thing with that one, you don't actually pay an excess. You're not claiming on your insurance, so potentially it's not putting your premium up. And also with your normal insurances, you are normally paying extra for legals, and there are so many exclusions. With FSB's part, it is there to pick up a lot of those exclusions so that you've got the peace of mind that you're covered. My one tip though, if you ever do make a claim, always make sure you contact FSB at the soonest possible moment and follow the advice that you're given, because quite often they can give you advice that means it doesn't go that far, or that it doesn't invalidate your claim because you've ignored the advice that you've been given. We can also help you out with things like your insurances, whether that's advice and support, have a health check, or see if we can reduce the cost of them. If you pay bank charges, then again, we've got a partnership with the Co-op Bank who offer FSB members free business banking. And there's lots and lots of other support, networking, payroll, health and safety advice. There's a funding platform which is about business loans and commercial mortgages, PR and crisis management, and so much more. But I won't go into it because it can be quite overwhelming. So if anybody has questions, either fire away or put them in the chat or make contact with me. I've put in my contact details already. And I've also put the link, because as Martin said, Bexley Council are kindly offering 1 year's free membership. It only applies to new members or businesses that haven't been a member for over a year, from the FSB perspective. And there are random other requirements, but what he didn't say is if you don't fit the criteria, there is a box for you to actually state your case as to why you should have it. So don't rule yourself out. If you have suffered during the pandemic, it is worth applying. It does say on the Bexley Council website it takes 20 minutes to apply. It doesn't take anywhere near that long. And it's information that you will know. So I was filling it in for somebody and I did it in less than 20 minutes. So you'll fly through it. But give it a go. What have you got to lose? 10, 15 minutes of your time and hopefully you get a free membership. But that's it for me. I won't talk anymore. Just fire away with any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Rachel. And you've got, by the looks of the chat, you've got one potential applicant there already, Patricia Byrne. So, okay. I suggest you maybe talk to Rachel, Patricia, first before applying. Is that the best thing to do?
To be honest, as long as you can show that you've struggled because of the pandemic, so business has been reduced, and think about what benefits you want to get from the FSB membership. The rest of it is very self-explanatory. It's one of the only council ones where I don't get a decision on who gets the memberships. So Bexley Council will have to do it. So even if you put down that you need legal advice, whether it's the networking to grow your business and meet other small businesses, or just having the support of being part of a small business community, they're all factors that will help your application. Okay. But feel free to call on anyway if you want to discuss it before you do.
Yeah. As Rachel said, her details are in the chat, and you can contact her directly if you've got any queries about that or the application form itself. And it's definitely well worth doing. I'd apply myself if I wasn't a member already, but unfortunately I can't do that, can I, Rachel?
Unfortunately not.
There you go. Okay, thank you very much. Rachel has got to go shortly as well. So, but you do get some value, those of you who are here today. I'm now going to do a presentation on funding for businesses. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the Bexley scheme and then talk about a lot of other potential opportunities elsewhere that apply to any business, whether in Bexley or anywhere else. But thank you very much again, Rachel, and I will see you next time around. Okay, take care. Here is the presentation. It's on the screen now, so hopefully you can see that. Here are my contact details, and they're in the chat as well. This presentation will go on LinkedIn. It will also go on our YouTube channel as well eventually. So if you have any concerns, obviously people haven't shown themselves their image today, but if you have any other concerns about it going on other platforms, please get in touch with us. What you can do is remove any identifying features, but the camera only goes to people who actually speak. So others haven't shown themselves on screen anyway, so it shouldn't be a problem. But if you do have an issue with that, we take your security very, very seriously, and we will try and address that. So I'm going to move on. Now, this is me. I'm the Managing Director of Cnt Associates. We've been around since 2003. We provide business support and fundraising services. We write bids and applications, and we've raised over £30 million for clients that we've worked for. We're currently running the in partnership with another of organisations, including Bexley Council, a business support programme. These Martin did explain some of it, so I'm not going to go through all the detail again. These are just some of the other partners. Obviously, it's ourselves, Federation of Small Businesses, Southeast Enterprise, who are providing an e-business and digital services program. White Label Creative, who are organising a number of events like the one on climate change next month. And then more locally, Erith Exchange are providing some support for Erith-based businesses. The library services are providing access to a range of business-related software, including Mintel. Somebody asked if it was free access. Yes, it is free access, because Mintel is certainly very expensive to buy that software. So you get free access to it. You have to actually go into the library for Mintel. For some of the other business software like Compass and a couple of others, you get remote access to it, but there is a range of business software you can access for free to do research, identify competitors, identify opportunities, and a whole range of other things you can do. There's some support for retail businesses, and Martin also mentioned the Engine House and the free hot desking opportunities for several months. And again, I'll be circulating that. Martin just sent me the presentation, so I'll be circulating that later to everybody who was here today or who were registered. So this is the Cnt Associates Program there. If you want to join it, either contact me directly. The contact details are in the chat, or the link is there. It's on the screen. You can copy that link now. The registration is with Bexley Council. So you have to register your business with them. You've got to be Bexley based, obviously. And then if you do that, if you can then tell us that you've registered, because of GDPR and data regulations, we can't get direct access to that database. We have to ask if people are on it. So if you want to get support quickly, register through that link and then email us to confirm that you've registered on it. What do you get in our program? It's got 5 elements. This is all free as well. You get a 2-hour business review additional support to develop a template, like a short business plan, a digital marketing strategy, advice about getting your business online from our IT consultant, Sybil, who's got a Master of Science in postgraduate degree in computer science, a business continuity plan, or developing an online store strategy. Again, is supported by my colleague, Sybil. We've run a range of webinars. This funding one has been repeated several times, so I think that's the reason why there aren't so many people on today, because this is the fourth time we've repeated it. A lot of these resources are on our YouTube channel as well. So this will go on, like I said earlier, on our YouTube channel probably in about a week or so's time, so you can watch it again. But some of the others are on there. We've got about 30 videos covering a whole range of funding, business support and digital technology support videos and webinars. And again, it's all free access. The other thing that we are doing as well is we are providing, we can refer you to the other partners. Like, for example, I've referred a number of people to Southeast Enterprise for digital skills support. There's people who still had support from us. It's just come out in the business review that there are certain digital support areas that they need, so we've referred them to that as well, but they still had other support from us too. And we can refer you to some of the other partners based on your particular needs. So that's the Bexley Business Program. Let's have a look at some other funding opportunities out there. Please, can people put themselves on silent? Please, can you put yourself on silent? On mute, rather. There is a number of support presentations and organisations out there. These are my top 5. The first one is called My Funding Central, which is a part pay, part free service. I would recommend that. It's got about 4,500 funding sources on it. Another excellent one, which is free, is the Entrepreneur's Handbook, which is, if you're starting up a business or developing your business, you should consult that. And that's got about 60 pages of grant funding in it throughout the UK, and is well worth looking at. There's another blog site there that I utilise myself called Sage Advice, and there's a section on government grants for small businesses, which is very good. And they also provide a lot of very customised support on particular issues as well. For example, there was a good article on what tax benefits you can get from buying electric cars for business recently. On that, I was asked about this from a client. I looked on that website, and the first article I found was on that. But there's many other articles on that are very useful as well. Then the Government Grants Hub, which is another excellent site, which does what it says on the tin, gives lots of information about government grants that are out there. And finally, the London Business Hub. Again, a lot of this is in-kind support. There are occasionally funding opportunities on there, but there's a lot of training and support webinars and a whole range of other networking opportunities, both online and live in person. So again, those are very good places to start if you're looking for funding and support currently. And these are either London or national opportunities. So anyone in the UK or in London can access that support. Here is the National Business Support Helpline. Again, it's government funded in London. It's managed by the Mayor of London's office. They may well refer you back to your local authority and local support like ours, but you can call them and email them. The line does work, and you can contact them directly for more advice. Here's a few other websites. I'm not going to go into the detail of all of them, and the British Library I'm coming back to later. I've already mentioned My Funding Centrals. That all of them are worth having a look at. definitely, because there's lots of different support on all of them. Here's a bit more about the Entrepreneur's Handbook. Within it, there's a comprehensive list of UK business grants to find and apply for, which you need to check which are the best ones for your business. And it includes details of the grant, including the amount, grant criteria, coverage, and more. And there's the direct link into that section on grants and loans for that particular handbook. The London Business Hub that I've just mentioned has been around for about 4 years. It was set up by the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan. And again, you can register with them for a free business review, and they do some work directly with selected businesses, so it could be yours. They are doing some work at the local level, I believe, as well in certain places, not everywhere though. But so that's definitely worth having a look at too. The next item is about crowdfunding, because people are always asking me about this. There's different types of crowdfunding. I'll start with one of the biggest UK platforms, and that's crowdfunder.co.uk. On most crowdfunding sites, there are some very good tools on how to set up a crowdfunding program. And all the tools are there because basically you put a project online and then they advise you to make a short video which should last about 2 minutes. And they are able to put your platform, your project out there, and they will give you support to do that. How it tends to work, I'll show you in a minute. One of the things you can also do as well on crowdfunding platforms like this one is you can offer people rewards for, because normally you have a kind of sliding scale of donations, and then you can match rewards to the donation. So it might be a very limited reward for a small amount of money, £5 or whatever, and a much more substantial reward depending on what you do, of course. For example, if you're a food business, you could offer people, produce or a significant amount of produce, for example, or free meals, whatever. You can't offer them cash because obviously the idea is to draw in money through crowdfunding. Most crowdfunding platforms will offer businesses, how it works is you don't pay any money up front, but you'll pay between 4 and 9% of what you raise, because they collect the donations or the investments, and then they, at the end of the appeal, they will forward it to you minus their commission. So that's one type of crowdfunding. The other type done by organisations like Cedars, because the website's there, and Crowdcube, which is a British one owned by Virgin. What they do is like Dragon's Den investment, basically. They have investors, and the investors can invest in your business. Obviously, if your business succeeds, then they've got shares in a profitable business. If your business doesn't succeed, their investment may be at risk. So it is risk investment. The others are effectively donations, really, the other types of crowdfunding. And also the donation-based crowdfund.co.uk type, a lot of non-profit making companies and organisations tend to use those rather than Cedars and Crowdcube, although not exclusively. There are some non-profits that use those sites as well. This is what crowdfunder.co.uk are offering at the moment. Access to relevant and additional funding. But what they're saying is they've got partnerships with other organisations where you can get additional funding. So, for example, they had a programme with the Mayor of London last year. If you raised up to £5,000, it was matched by the mayoral fund, so you could have actually got up to £10,000 depending on the level of donations that you have. They charge 5% plus VAT from your donation, and some transaction fees as well. But that's, if you want to know more, I suggest you look at the site, because that's a quite a big site, and it's the best known one in Britain, but there are others as well. Move on from that now. Here is another funder, Innovate UK. They provide funding for digital projects and businesses that provide digital services. You don't have to be exclusively to be a tech organisation. They have a number of programs. They've had one recently, and this is not running now because the latest round has just finished, but it will come back soon. A new round is pending. They've run several in the past 2 years. The Smart Grants program is £25,000 to £3 million in grants. There's other funding opportunities on that site. The key to this is you've got to demonstrate that the finances of your project add up, because however technologically advanced or astute it is, if the finances don't add up and you can't demonstrate a return for the government investment to your business and the community, not necessarily to the government, then it's less likely to be funded. So just bear that in mind, that it's got to stack up financially, and you've got to be able to demonstrate that with, budgets, cash flow charts, etc., etc. And they do ask for those. But some big opportunities there: £25,000 to £3 million in grants through this fund. And there's another one which I'm going to show you later called UK Research and Innovation that do some other related things as well. Here is another one that I can recommend, which is the British Library. The British Library run a range of support, particularly around intellectual property, and a lot of it's free. They do have some grant programs. Again, it's a bit like the Innovate UK programs. They kind of come and go. They have different rounds. They've also been, until March, running a big program in local libraries, including Bexley Library, Greenwich Library, Bromley Library. Some of those programs are still continuing, but the British Library provide one-to-one support, and many businesses have intellectual property issues. My advice is, if yours is one of them, contact the British Library direct. The link is there, because their advice is free, and there's loads of stuff online they've got via their business and IP centre, and I can't recommend it too highly. This is the UK Research and Innovation I just mentioned. Innovate UK is part of this branding. It's all government related priorities and funding in research and innovation. This is another program. It's not the only one. There's quite a lot on this site, so I'd strongly recommend you have a look at it. They cover a number of areas. This is an £830 million investment in multi and interdisciplinary research across 34 themes. Some of the more popular ones are environment, biology and biomedicine, artificial intelligence, productivity, infrastructure, health, well-being and human rights, digital, productivity and technical. So if you've got projects in any of those areas, and there are others as well, this was about as much as I could fit on one slide. That site is well worth having a look at, and there's some other funding priority areas that they've got as well. So it's definitely worth having a look at. And that is my final slide. So I'm going to stop the share now. We will be sending out this summary version to you after the event today. If it doesn't go out tomorrow, it will go out early next week. We just need to align it with Martin's presentation, which will also go out to people. As I say, all of this will go on our YouTube channel and on LinkedIn after that. So I'm going to stop the share now. So thank you, those of us who have stayed with us. Anybody got any questions for me? Yes, I've Hamid. What I suggest, Hamid, is that you contact me offline. I'll put my phone number in the chat, and please contact me directly, and I will talk you through what is available, and you are able, and indeed anybody else who wants to. I'm putting my phone number there now. Here it goes. But all my other details are in the chat as well if you want to email me, because if you're a Bexley-based business, I know Patricia's signed up for it. But Kate and Hamid, if you're Bexley-based and want to sign up for this program, it is free. There's no additional charges for it. And we may be able to get you access to a range of other partners as well. I've answered Hamid's program, but yes, we can provide some assistance with lead generation or get you to somebody who may be able to assist on that one. Finally, we've got another speaker who's always interesting. So thank you for staying on to listen. And this is Roger Ambrose from Ambrose Associates. Roger is an accountant, so he's going to speak for a few minutes about some accounting issues. So Roger, the floor is yours. I'm sorry, I think we seem to be having some...
Hello, Gary, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Sorry, Gary, I've got myself on mute. Can you see me or can you just hear me?
We can just hear you, Roger.
That's fine. Okay, well, look, I've known Gary for some time. You know, we're in the same building together. And Gary mentioned to me it would perhaps be a good idea for me to just give you some preliminary advice on the accounting and tax issues. Many of you I know, I'm sure, will have accountants perhaps, or at least be aware of the basics. But I thought Gary suggested we just take a few minutes just to run through preliminary issues. And if I'm teaching you to suck eggs, forgive me, but I'll do my very best to answer questions at the end. One of the main considerations that I always suggest partners, directors consider at the outset is the form in which the business is going to run. Many clients come to me with a preconceived idea that they're going to operate as a limited company straight away. That's not always the best idea. And it hinges broadly on profitability from a tax perspective, but there may be other issues why you choose to run as a limited company from day one. For example, the ability to secure work, professional indemnity cover, limited liability cover as well. There are good reasons why you would perhaps consider limiting yourself from day one as a company. But equally, if profits are likely to be relatively modest in those early years, or you may even incur a loss in the first year, I would normally suggest you operate as a sole trade or even as a partnership, because there are certain things you can do with your losses, your business losses. Maybe if you've been employed at the same time or in previous years, you can secure a refund of some of the PAYE tax or the tax you've paid on other income by offsetting that loss in the first or in the early years against the profits or the losses against income from other sources. So don't overlook that opportunity, because you can always incorporate the business at a later point, even if you're not incorporating from day one. In terms of software, I'm often asked what software to use in a business, a new business. We commonly will look at Sage, Xero, or QuickBooks, because it's definitely a worthwhile idea having proper books and records maintained at the outset in case you happen to get that tax inspection from HMRC in the early periods. If you've got good quality bookkeeping records rather than a shopping bag full of receipts, which I do encounter from time to time, that's obviously going to get you away from an inquiry or an inquiry being settled sooner rather than later. And that's always a good idea. Make sure you have a separate bank account. Clearly, if you're a limited company, you probably will. But if you're a sole trade or a partnership, the inclination often is to run a business bank account that's parallel to your private consumables, and that's not a good idea. Try and have a separate designated business account through which your business transactions pass. Another question I'm often asked is how can I draw money? Well, if you are effectively a sole trader, you can draw money from your business account whenever you wish, because you will always be assessed on the profits. You don't get relief or any form of tax relief for the drawings you pay. You can't pay yourself a salary if you are a sole trader or a partnership. But if you are a limited company, there are various ways that you can pay yourself. You may wish to draw a salary sufficient in size to make sure you get a credit for your national insurance contributions. Or the other option is to pay dividends. Dividends are paid to you out of post-tax profits. And may be an efficient way, tax efficient way of drawing funds from the business. Of course, if you incur out-of-pocket expenses on behalf of your business, you can reimburse yourself for those costs. So if you happen to be at the station, as may be, and you're paying for a new toner, a new printer, or some essential stationery, if you happen to pay cash or out of your own personal account, you can claim reimbursement. Now, the other point that I did just want to cover with you today is the basis upon which your tax becomes payable. And it's very important that you keep sufficient monies aside to pay that tax bill when it becomes payable. Now, for a partnership or a business, you make your accounts up to an accounting year end. And I would normally recommend, particularly as we're going to see some changes coming in 2024, I would recommend that you make your accounts up to either 31 March or 5 April. There's nothing to prevent you, if you wish to, maybe if you have seasonal work, I don't know if that is the case, that you wish to make your accounts up to another period with another date in mind. But I would normally recommend you make them up to the 31st of March or 5th of April to coincide with the tax year end. Any tax on profits that you make in that first year won't become payable until the following 31 January. So, for example, those of you that are in business already, if you're making your accounts up to 31 March or 5 April 2022, your first tax bill will become payable on 31 January 2023. I would normally recommend that you set aside something like 28% of turnover. So that's fees. If you set aside 28%, to accommodate not just your tax, but your national insurance liability, that should be sufficient. And that will be sufficient going forward. For a company only pays tax at the rate currently of 19% on its profits. You may decide that that's, perhaps compared to personal tax rates of 20, 40 and 45%, that's quite attractive. Frankly, it is. But don't forget that you will then pay tax on the money that you draw personally from the company. So the company will pay 19% on its profits, but anything that's left over that you care to draw, you'll then pay personal tax in addition to the corporation tax charge. May still be cost effective, particularly if profits are high enough and to otherwise take you into the 40-45% bracket. But my own thought on that is to seek professional help from an accountant before you decide the means in which you're going to operate, either, as I say, as a sole trade, a partnership, or a company. Companies make their accounts up to an annual accounting period end date, and just with tax, with personal tax, the company will submit its accounts and pay its corporation tax 9 months after the year end. And finally, one point I would like to ensure is that you are fully aware of the scope of the expenses that you can claim. So materials, equipment, travel, maybe motoring expenses, postage and stationery, insurance, telephones. Try and look outside the box and think to yourself, if you are incurring costs for and on behalf of the company, keep your receipts, keep your bills, and allow your accountant or your bookkeeper to judge whether or not those costs are legitimate. But what I really try to emphasize is the need to keep receipts and bills. Too often, I have clients who come along and say, well, I paid cash and I didn't get a receipt. Unfortunately, the revenue won't allow you to claim those costs. So do keep your receipts and bills. That, I think, Gary, is in 5 minutes, I've potted my thoughts on how to operate a company from day, or business from day one.
Thank you very much, Roger. We've already had 2 contributions. We got one from Kate in the chat. She says, I've just set up as a limited company from sole trader. Do I pay myself with dividends? I changed because I heard that I could pay only 10% instead of 20 as a sole trader and make a saving. Is this correct?
It is. It is, Kate. Yes. You know, if you are a limited company, the dividend option, particularly if you are making profits, make sure you're making profits, because you cannot pay dividends if you're not making profits. But assuming you are, dividends is a reasonable way to remunerate yourself. But don't forget the salary. A modest salary, even if it's insufficient in size to pay tax, try and pitch a salary that will allow you to get your national insurance credit. You can be in a situation, you can find yourself with sensible planning, where you pay you pay yourself a salary, you pay no national insurance, but you do in fact get a national insurance credit. That's a little quirk of the system, but it's worth exploring with your accountant. Okay.
Okay. Yes. Thanks for that. If you want to come back on that, Kate, to ask a follow-up question, please do. I've put Roger's contact details in the chat there. His phone number and his email address is info@ambroseassociates.com. That's in the chat if anybody wants to do that. Patricia, who's just left, has also said, I need to give Roger a call. So,
well, whenever she'd like to. Anyone would like to, I'd be more than happy to have a chat with you.
Yeah, so so Patricia will be contacting you as well by the looks of things. Okay, thank you very much for that, Roger. That's taken us up to 3 o'clock. I'd like to say a couple of things. The first is to reiterate, if anybody wants, who's Bexley-based business and wants to join the program, please contact me directly. It is free. There's no hidden charges or anything like that, because it's funded by the council and the government. Also, the next, this is part of a series. The next one is on the 24th of May. So it's approximately a month away at 2 p.m. And it's called Support for Women-Led Businesses, because it's part of a series. And so we've run about 10 different webinars on different topics, including 5 on funding like this. But that will be aimed at women-led businesses. So that is worth having a look at. That's on the 24th. And on the 10th of May, we are, which is 2 weeks today, we are running a webinar called How to Set Up an Online Store Using Shopify. And that will be run by our in-house tech consultant, Sybil Mayard, who's very well qualified in this area, works on Shopify a lot and has got a postgraduate degree in computer science. And again, it's free, and she will show you how Shopify works and how to set up an online store, and also talk about some other alternatives to Shopify as well. So again, these are all free. These are part of this program. This will go online. So you can watch it again either on LinkedIn, because all my details are in the chat, or on the CNT YouTube channel. which again is on the links, and you will get a copy of this. So I'd like to thank you for joining us today, and I hope you got some value out of this, and I will see you again soon. Take care. And Hamid, contact me, email me, and then we'll arrange for you to join the programme. And indeed, Kate, if you want to join as well, if you're Bexley based, you can do the same. Okay. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.